Hey, this is Max. Welcome back to another CSR2 video. I'm here with the latest Showdown, and this is the Test of Endurance Showdown, where we're going to try to win the Mclaren 720S GT3, which is a very good race car. Now, I'm using the Audi R8 LMS, which is actually the apex car for this particular Showdown. But knowing what has recently changed with Showdown, you should also know that you don't actually need a max version of this car to get to 1300. I'm using this because this is what I have and it's simply easy to do. Doesn't mean that you have to. Let's do one more run with the Audi, then I'm going to switch cars and let's see if we can actually cap 1300 without using the Audi R8 LMS. What we know is that Natural Motion, for whatever reason, decided to add dyno as a matchmaking parameter to Showdown. I suspect that is because they're trying to stop those guys doing the 6-second runs with those hacked Evo cars, because by matching like opponents to like cars, what they'll do is they will essentially eliminate the super fast guys. You won't be able to run your car that way because you would then only matchmake with guys like yourself, which is no fun at all, right? So by adding this, though, they basically added a parameter that isn't normally done before in old Showdowns, and that parameter is tuning. Because before, if you have a particular car, that's it, right? You get the car, you have to have the apex car, and everything is based on basically having the right tuning to do the job. Now, what happens is a maxed car, a maxed apex car, isn't necessarily the only way to do it. Now, don't get too excited just yet. I suspect Natural Motion has some programmer working overnight right now to try to fix their fix, because based on what happened with the last Showdown and how crazy that was, with the Porsche being able to downtune directly from being a fully maxed car to basically a dyno buster car very easily, this isn't probably the way they anticipated how Showdown would turn into. And let's be honest here, a lot of cars in the game that are used throughout Showdown can be tweaked in the same way. So right here we have the Zonda HP Barchetta, which is one of the other options. And if you notice, this car has a negative tune, meaning it's a dyno buster tune. It only dynos around about 11.8, but it can do about 10 point something in the half mile, which means essentially I should be matchmaking with opponents that are a lot slower than me and be able to outrun them. However, most of your opponents will actually be dynoing what you anticipate the dyno to be, which is right around 11.9 to 12.0. In this case, actually, no, I want to take that back. I think my dyno is actually 12 something. It's a little bit slower. We'll look at it after we get to 1300. Since I'm already running the car, we'll go look at what I did with the tune afterwards. But bottom line is, utilizing these down tunes for this event, at least for right now, it's a possibility to cap 1300 without having to have a fully maxed car. That doesn't mean your car doesn't have to be built, and it doesn't mean that a fully maxed car, especially the Audi R8 LMS, isn't needed to get to the end and win. It just means that we now have somewhat of another option to use if you know how to dyno bus tune your car to still get through Showdowns challenges up to a point. What's fascinating here is, while this works with this new Showdown, the Elite Tuner Showdown seems to not work that way after a certain amount of trophies. That could very well be because the Elite Tuner Showdown's a lot older and have been around multiple times, and maybe the code wasn't fully adjusted. But the reality is, this Showdown at least, I am able to get away with what I'm trying to do here so far, and that is utilizing the Barchetta with a negative tune to cap where I need to be in 1300, rather than doing it with the Audi R8 LMS, which is actually harder because most of the opponents have cars that are much closer match to you, because you're talking about 6.9 to 7.0 runs being required to win. Whereas this one, I just got to run ahead of the other guy, and I'm basically okay. Now he looks like he runs a little bit faster than 11.9 as well, but he was at 1600. I got 64 trophies out of him just by beating him, and therefore I have now just capped my 1300 and collected the car. And like that, I just did it without utilizing the Audi all the way. Now, would I switch back to the Audi now? Probably. I'm going to switch back to the Audi as I continue, because ultimately that is still the way to get to very high trophy points. But I think anything under 2,000-3,000 even, something like this may work. Now, the HP Barchetta and also the GT Black Series both have this kind of a downtune possibility, and it is quite capable with it. However, you're leveraging stage 6s, and you have basically a starting off with a more or less built car in order to get this. Knowing what I know, I didn't bother with too many fusions on engine or turbo, but basically you're talking fully stage 6 infusion here, and you're just running stage 6 intake over anything else, and you have basically a 2.0 tune to get this effect. Now, is this going to be long-term viable all the way beyond 1600, 1700, 2000? I don't know. What I do know is it's okay the way it is, and I'm not complaining. Now, you can tweak this for different lobby times, but basically I dyno 12.4, and I was running mostly 11.8 to 12 opponents, and the first guy was 12.5, so it is right on par with where you're supposed to be dyno-wise, and very few cars will be tuned the same way. Therefore, you're not going to have a lot of competition that's going to just destroy you, at least in this particular showdown up to this point. So that is basically the prize car collection that I needed to do in order to start the event. And I see I have all this stuff to collect. Let's claim all of them so I don't have to try to scroll through, which never is fun. And there it is, prize car. So let's collect that and start building that. Now, beauty of this car is, from what I understand, race 79 speed trap can be accomplished at stage 5 full fusion. That is probably because this car is really, really fast at stage 5, and it's a very good car. In fact, this is one of the top cars coming out of this event, and I absolutely wanted this car, and I'm very glad I was able to get it. Because of the downtune possibility here, I suspect I can actually get this car relatively easily. I'm not saying I'm going to have no issues, but relatively easily on my second account, which is where I'm going to go for this next. And we're going to add that experience and those runs kind of to the end of this video, so you can see that particular account and how that did as far as getting to 1300. So stay tuned, and let's go ahead and see where that goes. Alright, so we're here now with the GT Black Series on my second account. As I mentioned earlier, I think a downtune utilizing the GT Black Series could work just as well as the Zonda to get through to 1300. I'm currently at 1188. It hasn't been too difficult. I noticed that the opponents have here and there been getting progressively a little tougher, but it's nothing too crazy. A lot of these guys that are racing you already have completed the 1300, so it's not like they really need the points at this point. But of course, everybody would like to get more points. I mean, nobody would like to get less. So it's always nice to be able to potentially win more points. I think I slowed down a little too much there. That's not a big deal. I'm just learning car control. You don't have to do this. I'm not sure you're going to get bumped here. But what I do notice is that the cars that are racing me are, in fact, pretty much close to where my dyno is, if not slightly worse. So this one, I believe I am running about a 11-second dyno, and therefore these guys like Mr. Speedy here is right on target. Now he's way below me, so I really shouldn't let him win, because I think I lose more trophies than I would otherwise gain from him. So this time I think I'll try to make sure I don't lose to him, and this way I can get my trophies. I don't know what happened to him. He might have forgotten, or I think he either slowed down or disconnected. Whatever. As long as I win. That looks like a disconnection because he suddenly just, yep, he disconnected, which is fine. That has no impact on me. I still get my trophies and therefore I still move on. Okay, so that's what happens when you're playing and you get a phone call. Bam, disconnected. Okay, so that puts me at 1200, so we've got about 100 to go. Again, I don't anticipate any difficulties here coming up, but you never know, right? So let's go ahead and get it through and see what happens. For the most part, we're just moving right along here. There really no issues. All right, Richard in. Also in the 1100s. Notice the trophy range can be a few hundred off from where you are. That's good and bad. That's good if the guy is 200 more than you and you beat him. And it's bad when they're 200 below you and you lose to them. So you really got to watch how this plays out and try to, win the ones that the guy's trophy counts lower than you, because you don't want to lose those. You'll lose a lot of trophies and they'll gain a nice fat chunk from you. On the other hand, by beating him because he's lower trophy count than I am, I don't get as much. I get like 32 versus, so if I beat a guy that's 200 points above me, I may get something like 50, 60 trophies. Regardless, it puts me 32 closer to my goal, which is 1300. So we're now probably, I would say 2 to 3 races away from our ultimate goal, which is that 1300 and getting the car. So let's see if I can get that taken care of. I will be a happy camper once I get the car. Then I can move on to the next goal, which is to get my get the car built and get my way through that actual event to get the R18 Audi. Now I'm facing a Zonda. Depending on how he's tuned, I may have a tough battle here. Okay, if he's down tuned, he would shoot out ahead of me, which I don't think he is, because he did not shoot out ahead of me. So you can tell the down tuned cars from the non-down tuned, because even slowing them down, they'll shoot out ahead of you from get-go. That's one of the key factors with the way they work. Their 0 to 60 usually is pretty impressive, and 0 to 100 is pretty impressive. So these cars tend to shoot ahead. So that's 56 trophies, putting me at 1289, and I'm thinking I'm getting there and may actually collect the car any minute. Let's take a look. Very close. Just need one more guy. Okay, it's an Audi. Jealous Detective. Let's see how he runs. If I win this, of course, I get the car. If I lose this, of course, 2 more races. Not too worried about it one way or the other. So, looks like I am going to be able to pack this one and take it home with me. There it is. And the car should be won with this race. Even though he's like 300 points below me, I should get just enough trophies to get through. Let's take a look. And that's it. I mean, that's really the current system. Again, this doesn't seem to work so well on your lease Showdown for whatever reason. There's some issues there, but for this one, wow, did I just get exactly 1300? That's pretty rare. Usually you'll show you 1300 and it moves up a few points. That's generally how it works, but looks like I got exactly 1300. Woohoo! All right. So haven't gotten that far. You just click claim all, and then go to back to, wow, it's not showing. Oh, there it is. I see it show up. Takes a second to show up sometimes, and there it is. And that's all she wrote. I mean, I kind of, blew through both sides of my accounts for this. Utilizing, again, on the first account, I have the max cars that can compete heads up, but the Zonda did just fine. And on this one, the Black Series did just fine, and therefore I have both cars, and I'm ready to go into the event. So let me know what you think. I mean, this new Showdown system uh, rewards those of you who can tune very well and know how to set up cars and tune them, but you still have to have pretty upgraded cars. It doesn't really punish the other players, but I think, again, it's a whole system designed so that the cheaters that are using extra fusions and running 6.5 seconds or something, they would get put into their own lobby, and therefore they get to deal with each other and not us. I think that is the overall intent of this, adding this dyno factor into Showdown. It has the unintended side effect of allowing naturally the downtune cars to work and have some advantage in certain matchups. I am sure Natural Motion will end up fixing that somehow, but for me, for now, this allows my rather weaker second account to acquire the 720S GT3 without as much work. So I'm grateful for that. So once again, any comments, feel free to make them. Any, if you have anything to share that I didn't mention in this video about this change in Showdown, feel free to do so. If you like the video, leave a like. If you like my channel, like notifications when I put up new videos, subscribe, hit the bell, you get those notifications. And as always, thank you for watching my videos. I'll catch you next time.